Picture this. Location, Mumbai. The year, 1975. The lead character in my story, Gopinath. The interview was scheduled for 8 a.m. Since Gopinath did not know how long it would take to get to the location, he left home by 5 a.m., 3 hours in advance, armed with nothing but a little bit of work experience and a high school certificate. He arrived early with an hour to spare. Deciding not to go to the interview on an empty stomach, he sat at a local tea shop in the corner of the street, just across from the apartment building, where an official from the company in Qatar was conducting interviews. The breakfast diet consisted of a cup of tea, a banana, and the day's newspaper. That was all that he could afford. He was at the front door of the recruiter's apartment at 7:59 a.m. for the 8 a.m. interview. A well-dressed gentleman opened the door. "Gopinath?" he asked. "Yes," said my father with a smile. The gentleman looked at his watch, looked back at my father, and said, "You got the job." Ladies and gentlemen, thus began a path to all the possibilities in my life leading to where I am today. I understand that there are a lot of parents in the audience today. And I presume that many of you are already thinking about what your child should do after they graduate from school. How many of you have thought about engineering for your children? How many of you have thought about medicine? How many lawyers in the house? How many parents here are already telling their children in the 11th and 12th grades, a lot of who are sitting here today, "My dear child, why don't you study engineering or medicine or law? Do you not want that golden ticket to a good job and a good life? Do you not want to stand out and be respected in our society, the Indian society, where respect is so important? Do you not want to find a good bride or groom? Do you not want to be another Satya Nadella or Sundar Pichai or Dr. Mohan Thomas?" Well, I'm here to tell you today that as important as that decision may be, your children don't need to have the rest of their lives figured out by the time they are 18. What I want to do is share with you 2 stories from my own life. The first story of when, like your children, I was graduating at the time from MES Indian School in Doha 25 years back. Gives you an idea about my age. As the only child of Indian parents, my father who never went to university and my mother who quit college at the age of 18 to get married, the pressure was high. I got asked all these questions that I shared with you. I got asked all of them and more. And so it was only natural that I, like many other good Indian boys, chose to study engineering in Bangalore, the IT capital of India. In Bangalore, we used to have this joke. If you throw a stone, it'll most probably hit an engineer. And so in a sea of aspiring engineers, I felt like an absolute misfit. The problem was that I was enrolled in this course for all the wrong reasons. For my parents, for status, for everything that was expected of me. And so in no time, I went from being a straight A student at MES Indian School to what the rest of the world saw as failure. Engineering is a 4 years degree. I studied it for 5 years. And in my 5th year, I was still doing 3rd year courses. If you're not able to figure the math out on this one, then clearly you're not cut out to be an engineer. So take it out of the list of options. And so one fine day, after 5 years of studying to be an engineer for my parents, for all of you, I decided to quit. From the age of 18 to 23, what I was studying, I decided to quit. I had no idea what would come next. All I knew was that I could not continue to do this anymore. In our society, in this Indian society that we all belong to, the age of 23, by that time, people would have graduated with a master's degree. In fact, for a lot of you who know Shashi Tharoor, Shashi got his PhD at the age of 22. The news of quitting my studies was hard-hitting for my parents. They were devastated. A lot of people in the community felt sorry for me. The Malayalis in the crowd would understand when I say pavam, they said. There were many that secretly made fun of me. They called me a quitter, a failure, just a 12th standard pass at the age of 23. Our Indian society can be an unforgiving society. We tend to judge other people on so many things. Where they come from, the color of their skin, their religion, their caste, their ethnicity, how much money they have, what kind of academic background do they come from, who have they been married to, what car they drive, and the list goes on and on and on. There are only a very few acceptable options, at least this was the case when I was growing up. For a country of more than 1.4 billion people, the largest population on earth, this is a lot of uniformity, huh? And I certainly was not going to conform. So armed with just a 12th grade mark sheet, a strong statement of purpose, and references from kind-hearted professors at the engineering college that I dropped out from, I applied for a double degree in journalism and international relations. I wanted to be a war correspondent. Within 8 months of quitting engineering, I left India to Australia to pursue my dream of studying to be a journalist. And 4 years after that, I was accepted for a master's in international relations at the Geneva School of Diplomacy in Switzerland, which turned out to be my entry point to the United Nations system. Quitting engineering was the first major turning point in my life. It was about taking a risk without knowing what the future had in store for me. It was about taking that risk because by all metrics, that was the wrong choice to make. I was giving up a life of guaranteed comfort and success for an uncertain future. But for me, it was much more than that. It was about looking inwardly and understanding the reasons that drove me towards engineering in the first place. And looking in the mirror and accepting at the same time that this was not the person that I was cut out to be. It was about shedding that skin that is imposed on us from a very young age in the form of norms and social expectations, and being free to ask for the very first time those agonizing questions: who am I really? What is it that I want to be, and what is the path that I want to take? My second turning point came almost 20 years later. A pivotal moment of awakening that compelled me to reassess my path, evaluate my true passions, and make the difficult decision to leave my successful career behind. So last year, at the very young age of 42, I followed my heart. Once again, resigned from my job at the United Nations, a job that I was passionate about, and decided to go back to school. This time to study public administration at Harvard University. At that point in time, I had spent many years working for the United Nations on an issue so close to my heart, the issue of migration. Migration has always been a part and parcel of who I am as a person. All of you, in some way or the other, are touched by migration. Having grown up in this country myself and in a home that is away from home. And so when I got the opportunity to work within the United Nations system on migration, it was a dream come true. It was an opportunity for me to contribute every day in my own small way to make this world a better place. In my job, I had the privilege of traveling the world, of speaking to many people from all walks of life and trying to see the world through their eyes. Through my life and career, I have lived in 6 countries: India, Qatar, Australia, Switzerland, Bangladesh, and the United States. Traveled to over 60 countries and worked for 3 different United Nations agencies, a government, and different civil society organizations. I have indeed been very fortunate. So as you listen to this, you're thinking, picture perfect, Shabri, what a life. I had my own internal struggles. My father, my hero who I spoke about, the one who inspired me to work on migration in the first place, was just recovering from cancer. My 9-year marriage was also coming to an end. I felt responsible for making difficult decisions for those around me and for those who depended on me. And while I had to do what I had to do, all of this had taken a toll on me. The scars of life, as they say. This was a really difficult period of life, trying to reckon with all these changes and emotions. I knew I was ready for a change. I wanted to see the world with fresh eyes. I wanted to take some time off, reflect, invest, recharge. Harvard was simultaneously an enlightening and an excruciating experience. It had nothing to do with academics. In this year of studies and reflections, I learned that leadership begins with self. Aspiring to change the world without changing ourselves is first and foremost about bringing true leadership to an inward perspective as much as it is an outwards journey. Our path to possibilities is determined as much by the waters we carry, by those cultural, familial, and societal norms that imprint on us and weigh us down, and by our ability to acknowledge them, rise from them, and then to finally put them to rest. Of all the places in the world, I end up today at the age of 43 in Qatar, in the country where it all started for me, working for the United Nations on the very same issue that brought me here as a 6-year-old boy in 1986, the issue of migration. Trying to improve lives of migrants and their families in this country, I can really say, friends, I have come full circle. Many of you might think the message from my 2 stories is how I went from a failed engineering student to graduating from one of the most prestigious universities in the world. That is not the message I want you to take from this talk today, because where you go to school, what you own, what you study, what your job is, does not define you as a person. What defines you is the strength and integrity of your character and your resilience in the face of difficulties. The reason I wanted to share these 2 stories of my life with you today is to tell you that sometimes in life, you have to make really difficult decisions of shedding the skin. shedding the skin of culture, shedding the skin of societal expectation, our egos, and digging down into what and who we really are, what we want to be, and what it will take to become the person. The choice you're about to make in terms of career paths for your children, if that's what you're doing, is only one of many such turning points in their life as much as it is in your life. And believe me, I know that asking those questions and making those choices can be very scary. It is scary because often those around you will question you, even disapprove of your choices. And mind you, you're just taking these, hoping that you're making the right choices for your children, but people around you will disapprove of your choices. Because being different or wanting to do things your way is simply too radical an idea. But the alternative is more terrifying. It means going through life without trying. It means that you go through life without taking those risks, without daring to even question what we have been told. Because failure, my dear friends, is never an outcome. Failure is about not trying. Hang in there. Work on making yourselves proud. I say this particularly to the students in the audience. Be true to who you are. Be true to yourselves. Go and ask those questions and find the answers if you can. And if you cannot, do not worry. You have the rest of your lives to figure it out. Thank you.